Executive Director of Savvy Ladies, and we're just so delighted to be here in person for the first time in over a year. It's just a delight. And I want to thank Akris for opening up the boutique.
Woo!
Okay, I was supposed to say a few words. Thank you so much. Welcome, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen. We have some gentlemen here too, yeah. In behalf of the team, myself and also my team, just want to say big welcome, and we're so excited to have you here. It is such a wonderful organization, and when we spoke to Melissa about it, we were like over the moon just to kind of host you here. And if you have any questions, of course, we're going to be here after the event and until the end of this month. If you would like to have any purchases, of course, 10% of the proceeds will be donated towards the organization. So that's something that we're going to do from our end. And thank you again, and we look forward to connecting like afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted this evening to introduce you all to Stacey Francis, who is the founder of Savvy Ladies as well as the chair of our board. Stacey, please.
I am full of gratitude. I hope you feel my energy because it's, glowing, and I feel so happy to be here. So many things to be grateful for. To Akris for hosting us. Number one, to our amazing panelists and our moderator, Suzanne Siracuse. And to all of you, because Savvy Ladies really takes a village, and our mission is never done. There are millions of women living below the poverty line, and that statistic has not changed over the years. And we as an organization are doing that, and we are changing that. We've already helped over 1,500 women doing one-on-one matches with certified financial planners, tax experts, debt counseling experts, all free of charge just this year. And so that couldn't happen with all of you. And so I want to offer a couple opportunities. Number one, shop, shop, shop. And I just want to say that that these pieces are pieces for a lifetime. I just need to not gain more COVID weight. And I joke that COVID-19, I'm an overachiever. I did COVID 25. A little better. But they are pieces for a lifetime. And I also want to let you know about another really special opportunity to gather with fantastic people. We have our gala coming up, and we're doing something extremely unique we did last year that was successful. The gala is going to be online, but we are going to have private watch parties. And actually, Lisa Zeiderman is one of our amazing hosts, as well as other hosts around the tri-state area and actually across the country. And if you become a patron sponsor, you are able to be invited to one of these in-home, private people's homes, or very curated individuals that you would love to meet. So curated individuals that you would love to meet. And the cost for patron sponsorship is $1,000. And so it's an amazing ability to make a difference. And I can't tell you that we couldn't do the work that we do without that support. And the number of women that we are helping today is 4 times the number that we were helping just 2 years ago when COVID first broke. And while COVID feels like it's somewhat in the past, financially for women, it is not. And we are still feeling those effects and will continue to do so. And so I just want to say thank you for being here. We'll be sending out more information about becoming a patron sponsor. We'd love to have you come to the gala and ideally a watch party because they're going to be super, super fun. And just a great big hug of gratitude. Thank you for being here.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Stacey. Really, it is true that we are now connected over 1,500 women on the helpline, which is absolutely fantastic. We have been working, matching as Stacey has said, volunteers with women with their financial questions. So really, it's been a phenomenal year so far, and I can't even imagine. I think we're going to be hitting 2,000, if not more, by the end of the year. So really phenomenal, the number of women we are helping. So thank you, thank you. And part of what we're doing is putting together panel discussions, like what we're hosting here tonight. And Melissa and the Akris team, I'm so grateful of you offering up your space. It actually is our first in-person event since COVID started. And now we're doing it hybrid. So hello, everyone in the Zoom audience who is watching and has been Zooming in. Really appreciate you doing that. And we're testing this for the first time, and I'm actually really stoked that we are doing it and pulling it off. So I'm hoping you can all hear us very well, and you'll hear all the speakers tonight. I am really delighted to be able to introduce our speakers, and thank you all for stepping up to the plate tonight to share your wisdom, your expertise on very important topics that we all can learn about, because that's what it is. Savvy Ladies educates and teaches women financial education and literacy, but also that matches so perfectly with your career and your career development, and feeling confident and belonging and inclusion is so very valuable to every one of us here tonight in this room and listening to us on Zoom. I'd like to introduce Suzanne Siracuse as our moderator. She is an industry expert and from the financial industry. She moderates many panels across the country, and we're delighted that she's here in New York City today because she's been across the country speaking to help moderate our panel today. Fiona Phillip is with KPMG, also our Savvy Ladies board member. We're delighted to have you here to share your wisdom. She comes to us from DC, so really excited that Fiona traveled into New York City on this crazy day and made it here. So wow. So
you've been all over the world the last 2 years.
Yeah, so thank you for being here and sharing your great smile. And
maybe you can hitch a ride back with
Air Force One. And Melissa Beste is the global CEO of Akris, and we're delighted for your support of Savvy Ladies and offering us this wonderful space for tonight's event. And here to my left is Lisa Zeiderman, our executive board member and VP of the Savvy Ladies board. Also, she runs her own matrimonial firm. So we're delighted that you're going to kick it off. And Suzanne, I send it to you.
Great. Well, hi everyone, and good evening. And how great is it to be in person, right? Especially at a store that has such amazing stuff. Keep me away from that dress down there. My birthday's coming up, whatever. But we're really excited to kind of match two interesting topics, right? Fashion, finance, but like style and substance, right? So how do you create your own personal brand, and how do you maintain your authenticity when you're a leader at work and in your career, and really be true to yourself and bring your true self into the office with showcasing a little bit about your fashion. And we've got some very fashionable women here tonight. I'm very excited to talk to each and every one of them. And before I get into all of the formal questions, I want each one to tell us a little bit about your role, about your firm, and what makes you passionate about fashion. I'm going to start with you, Fiona.
Sure. So I'm a principal and associate general counsel at KPMG. We have 33,000 employees. KPMG is known as an audit and accounting firm, but we also are an advisory and tax firm as well. So there are 3 lines of business. My role within the Office of General Counsel, I like to say that my particular group, which Fran here used to run, we are the litigation and dispute prevention team. We're small but mighty, and we like to keep us out of the headlines and out of trouble and out of court.
Great. And Melissa, again, and I just want to reiterate, thank Akris and you. Melissa is a personal friend for opening up your doors and for making a donation to Savvy Ladies. I know Lisa has already done some damage, so tell us a little bit about what Global CEO means.
Well, this is my second time working for the company, and I've known the family for 18 years. I was first the U.S. CEO. I left the company for 3 years, challenged myself to do something else, and then I returned in this role. And working for family-owned companies is very unique. And next week, we're headed to Paris for Paris Fashion Week, and it's the company's and the family's 100th anniversary.
Wow,
So,
congratulations.
Amazing.
third generation owned, still owned, privately owned and operated, company based in St. Gallen, Switzerland. Most of the big brands have been purchased by the big groups, LVMH, Kering, et cetera, which is wonderful and it helps bolster those brands, but it also provides challenges for other brands, and we're one of the few that's still independently owned and operated. I split my time. I spend a week, a month in Switzerland. I travel to other parts of the world, and then I call New York home. And my job is really, especially balancing the family too, and growth trajectory. I think of myself mainly as an air traffic controller, just trying to get everyone to focus in the same direction. And I feel like I say a lot of the same things all the time, but one of the things I say is always like, what's next? Let's keep moving. And to uphold the values of the family 100 years later is a challenge, but a privilege to be able to do so. A protector of the brand and a strategic advisor.
Great, I love that. That's such a great description too of what a CEO really does. So Lisa, tell us a little bit about what you do, and looking forward to hearing.
So I am a managing partner at Miller Zeiderman, which is a matrimonial and divorce firm. We handle complex litigation, and we are probably the go-to firm in Westchester County and Manhattan for complex custody and divorce cases. We are about 40 strong, with about 20 attorneys in our office, and we particularly like complex custody or complex financial issues. So that's really what we do. And my love for fashion started at probably a very early age, and I was in the fashion business before I decided to become an attorney. So I had my own business on 7th Avenue, and then decided at some point in my life I wanted to go back and get my undergraduate degree and then go to law school with a very direct goal of becoming a divorce attorney, having been divorced myself. So not a big surprise. And so I'm so excited to be here tonight, and I'm shocked a lot already, because my love of fashion and what we do for Savvy Ladies, I think that they really work together, and I'm so excited that we're able to combine fashion into what we're doing for women right now.
Fashion and finance. And Lisa, just thank you for all you do. You are such a tireless advocate for everything Savvy Ladies and an inspiration for all of us to give back and to volunteer. So with that, I hope everybody has a little bit of a context for our fabulous women here today. I want to start with the term success, right? So I feel like everybody has a little bit of a different definition of what success means to them. And I know for me personally, the definition of it has changed quite dramatically throughout my career. So I'd love to start out, maybe Melissa, we'll start with you. What is your definition of success, and how has that impacted the choices you've made?
I guess two things. One, success in general is just happiness, right? Just being happy, whether it's professional or personal. I hope to God, with as many hours as we all work, that we're doing something that actually brings us joy. But more than that, I think for success for me is living a purpose-driven life. And so understanding what your purpose is. And I think an obligation of leadership is service. Whether it's through a nonprofit organization or mentorship, and I think the single worst thing that happened in my life helped me identify what success would look like for me and the desire to live a purpose-driven life. When I was 26, my father was 52 and he passed away quite suddenly. And my father came from a quite poor family. He was one of 9 children, and he started doing data entry in a company that he, years later, without a education, became chairman of. Wow. And along the way, he was very involved with our church, refugees, he was on the school board. He had there was a lot of service that I saw both our parents that was very important to them in their lives. And when he passed away, the most wonderful thing happened. I got all these letters. Some from people that I knew, refugees that from our church that have working for the company my dad was, and he educated them, and that was part of their purpose at the company. But others I had never met before. And saying to me how grateful they were for the path that my father paved for them and how meaningful my father was in his life. So it made me think, if you have to fast forward your life to the end, what will you be known for? And what's your impact? And largely that's other people. So I really relish mentoring other people, and that's my purpose. So, and that for me, that's success.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. And it is so important. And you know, it's really interesting. I feel like I feel the same, and I know we're going to talk more about that. The next generation, the generation that's coming up, the young professionals, they know that already. I feel like it took me decades to realize how important making an impact was. So kudos to the young professionals out there. Fiona, how about you? What's your definition of success, and has it changed throughout your career?
Yeah, well, thanks for getting me to follow Melissa.
Oh, I've met your mother.
So I echo Melissa's sentiment, but I do think the definition of success definitely has changed over time for me. I would say very initially, my definition of success was a very succinct one. It was have lots of money, right? Like very succinct. And as you grow older, you realize that that is not the end all and be all. And so for me, the definition of success now is the ability to control my time, so that I have the luxury to mentor, to decide what is going to be my purpose, right? And to enjoy life, to nurture your relationships with your family and your friends, to be there for them, right? To also take care of yourself, so that it is the life that you want. Because we all know the saying, life is not a dress rehearsal. Yeah. And I'm a strong believer in that. So controlling my time is now my ultimate definition of success.
I love that. I never thought of it that way, quite frankly, right? And that is so, so critical. I think it's a shame that we have to get to certain parts of our career before we realize that, right? But that's a wonderful bit of advice. Lisa, how about you?
So it's interesting because I was just thinking about what Fiona said, and I think that for me, success was also how much money could I accumulate and how much money could I make. And as time has gone on, it's more about having time. My husband always says, Lisa, there's only 24 hours in a day, and you have to sleep a few of those hours. And for me, this being here and being able to serve on a board like Savvy Ladies, and being able to help other women, and frankly mentor the people in my firm, and having the time, that is the luxury of success to me. And that, having the expertise and being able to help other women who are less fortunate or maybe didn't have the ability to get to the table the way that I did, I think that's really what I feel is success at this point.
All three amazing answers, and for those that are here tonight and listening, I'm sure you can identify with at least one of these three answers. I know for me, obviously, money was part of it, but I was more focused on the title that I had at the organization, right? So getting that CEO title and managing a bunch of people and all of that. And for those of you that don't know me, I left my CEO job and became a consultant 3 years ago, best thing I ever did. And I realized that I didn't want to professionally manage anymore. I wanted to mentor in a way that didn't have the same kind of accountability, et cetera, tied to it. So again, like just kind of thinking about some of these things, go home tonight and think about what is your definition of success? Because sometimes you are going by an old definition and you have to revisit it and say, is my path leading me to this current definition? So just food for thought. So most women that I've talked to, successful women, have always taken some kind of risk to get where they are. So I'd like to talk a little bit about risk-taking, and I don't know if that translates to fashion, but risk-taking a bit in your careers, and has it paid off? If you would share an example, Melissa.
I can share 2 examples. I was sharing with Lisa when we were downstairs. Fashion was not part of my plan. I was planning to go to law school. And
then we could have had 3 lawyers.
And just out of curiosity, when I was graduating undergraduate, through the business school, I saw that Neiman Marcus was coming to. I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison. And you could just sign up for an interview, and I loved fashion, so I had actually never been in Neiman Marcus in my life. My mom took us to TJ Maxx for back-to-school shopping, and I put my name on the list, and then somehow I got past the first interview, and then I went down to Dallas to their headquarters for 2 days of group activities with other candidates, a lot of one-on-one interviewing, test taking. I didn't even understand the acronyms of the test. At one point, they put us in a room with a stack of data like this tall, and you're supposed to read it, analyze it, then 2 situations. An hour later, someone's going to come back, and you have to propose what your solution is. I didn't even know what they're talking about. I didn't know that STD meant season to date. I always thought, why are they talking about sexually transmitted diseases? And I tried to leave. I'm out of here. I picked up my handbag, I went to the bathroom. This administrative person found me and said, oh, it's a maze up here, you'll never find it on your own. And she escorted me there. I waited for a good 20 minutes. I came out, she's still waiting for me. I couldn't escape. She escorted me back again, and then I kept like, pull yourself together, Melissa. You can't talk about this. You need to change the topic and talk about something else. So be creative and talk. I literally embarrassed myself. I got on the plane, called my dad from the phone, which was on the plane at the time, in the back of the seat. And I said, not only did I not get this job, I humiliated myself. And he said, life is about taking risks. 3 weeks later, the phone rang, 3 days before Thanksgiving. The head of HR said, we'd love to welcome you to our executive development program. I was so sure they had me mixed up with someone else. I didn't even ask the salary. I said, I'll be there. I accept. And it was a big risk. And I didn't know anything. And everyone in the training class, they were retail majors, and the majority of them had done internships at Neiman Marcus as well. They posted your weekly scores in the training class. You're constantly testing where you ranked versus everyone else. It's always at the bottom, near the bottom 10%. And buyers would look at the ranking to see who they wanted to interview for a permanent role. So now I might not even actually get an actual job. That would be embarrassing. And my dad kept saying, just ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So I stayed. And it turned into an incredible career. I left Akris the first time because I really believe in, I really live with this motto of, you need to make yourself uncomfortable every day. Personally, professionally. If not, you're just standing still. It's not the point of life, this lifetime, the next one. And I became a little bit of a hypocrite. I think I was a little comfortable. So I went to work for a startup, funded by private equity, investing in fashion brands, super uncomfortable. Working with all men in private equity who knew nothing about fashion. Really difficult 3 years, but I just tried to say every day, what can I learn? And it was risk. And that holds true to today. And I try to encourage everyone on our team to feel safe taking risks, to try new things, to get comfortable being uncomfortable, so that everyone's learning and growing.
Love it. Great answer. And I think all of us have had some kind of risk in our life, and at the time it seems terrible, right? How are we going to get over this? How am I going to get through this? But I have found, and I've talked to so many women that have found that when you do, because you always do, it is the best feeling in the world, right? So I think that sometimes that's a really big area to just not be scared, and don't be afraid to take that chance if your gut is telling you to. So Lisa, what lessons have you learned during your career that have shaped who you are today as a leader?
So I think, first of all, truth. I think that as a lawyer, I think the most important thing about what I present is my truth. When I go in front of a judge or I work with colleagues, I have to be truthful, completely truthful, transparent. That doesn't mean omitting facts. It doesn't mean making it a little different. I mean, it means actually being truthful and straightforward, so that when people know when I say something, that is actually the truth. And I think when you do that, then people respect you. And I think that is the best way to protect your client, and the best way to protect your firm, and the best way to protect yourself. So I would say that's first and foremost in my mind. I think the other part is, and it relates to fashion, is that if you have the expertise and the confidence, you can branch out a bit in terms of fashion and the way that you look, and you don't need to be in that suited look, that the gray flannel suit, which we all knew lawyers to be, that you can. No, yours is not the gray flannel suit. I thought yours was a little different color, actually.
It's the shoes.
Right, it's the shoes.
Well, this
exactly.
is black.
It's black, and I saw the shoes. I was good. So, but I think, in all seriousness, I went to court today wearing this.
Bravo.
Okay, and I had been before that judge many, many times. I put on my leather jacket, and I'm wearing my Akris dress, and I thought, I could change, I could make this dressier for tonight, but I feel perfectly comfortable going into court and arguing, and I did just fine, and nobody cared, frankly, that I wasn't in a suit. They wanted to hear what I had to say.
Yep.
And I was frankly the one who had the most confidence in the room, because I knew the facts and I knew the case, and that was what was most important.
And you look great.
Thank you. And I think it's about feeling good about yourself. I think that's the other lesson that I've learned, that you need to feel good and you need to feel authentic about yourself.
Those are great lessons, and it's actually segues really well into the next question all around confidence that I want all of you guys to address, right? Because there is something very compatible with fashion and what you're dressing and your confidence, right? How you look and what you wear. Sometimes you choose, I know for me, I choose certain things if I'm not feeling as confident, right? And then when you're feeling confident, maybe you go out on a limb a little bit more, or take a little bit of a risk. If you're feeling happy, you wear stuff that makes you happy. So I do feel like there's such a synergy between what you wear and then your mood, right? So back to confidence, it's really key in getting what you want. So what advice do you have, Fiona, on maintaining your confidence, getting your confidence first and then maintaining it?
Well, never be afraid to use your voice. You have a perspective, you have experience, and it may be different from others, it may look different than others, but it's just as valuable as others. And so it's important that people recognize that. They recognize it within themselves. If you need to practice in the mirror, then you do that. But you got to recognize the value within yourself and not wait for sort of the external validation. Because I've been in rooms where, you know, you feel like you really need to know the answer. And someone else who feels much more confident and could be from a much more privileged background will get the same question and go, you know, that's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. Let me research that and get back to you. And you think to yourself, why didn't I just say that? Why am I like twisting and turning myself into a pretzel because I feel like I should have known the answer and I wasn't confident enough to say exactly what usually he says.
True.
So I think it's something that you have to build up within yourself, but you also need to have a support system, and that support system can come from any different part of your life, right? Family, friends, old college roommates. It can also be, and this is what, when I was at a law firm, I always tried to tell the much younger associates this. The most senior partner in the office, just because he's 20, 30 years older than you, doesn't mean that you can't find something that you have in common, right? So in Washington, at my old law firm, the chairman of the firm loved college football. So I used to tell, you know, some of the younger associates, you love college football. Go, he's sitting there at the lunch table by himself. Go talk to him. And by talking to him, right, and finding that connection, you never know what opportunities will then open to you. But he now knows your name and you found a connection. So I always like to say to particularly younger folks who always think, oh, we don't have anything in common. You always have something in common with someone in the room. And you just need to find what that connection is. And extending yourself like that builds confidence. And rejection happens, so what? You move on. Everyone's not for everyone.
I love that.
Just the way it is.
And again, it's that getting uncomfortable, right? But also, I think that support system, I want to touch on that for a second. I think that is so critical, especially when you're younger. And if you've got a great support system, sounds like Melissa, you did. I know I did. My father was both my parents, amazing support system. But think about those that don't have that. And if you're in a position of influence at your firm and you know that somebody doesn't have that support system at home, be their ally, be their champion. You know, talk about them when they're not in the room. And that will build confidence. I think that is a huge part of the responsibility of leaders, and especially women leaders. I think very good at that.
Yeah, there's also, right, the socioeconomic, right, sort of mix to it in that you come across people who are like first generation college, like some things they just don't know, haven't been exposed to.
Right.
And so if you take the time, because you have the luxury of time, if you take the time to be that person's mentor, then you're paying it forward. And you build confidence in that person. And they then, sometimes you have to tell them, there's an expectation that they too will pay it forward. So yeah, all that is about confidence building and being sort of the vessel to help others, you know, get that confidence that they need.
Yeah, love it. Lisa, how about you?
So for me, it's about preparation. I feel confident when I'm completely prepared. When I've got all of my skills and
That's good for a lawyer.
It is. And it builds confidence for your clients also. Your clients like when you're prepared. But in all seriousness, I think it's for a client to see a lawyer go into a courtroom and not be prepared. And they see it all the time, because I see it all the time. It doesn't build confidence. You need to be prepared. You need to be timely. You need to be truthful. You need to feel comfortable. All of that, I think, builds confidence. And then having people who are your support system, who you've mentored over the years, who maybe don't think exactly like you, but can bring new ideas to the table, and who have the skill set, who you can count on, who you can feel confident that they're prepared as well, and that they can interact with the clients and the judges, etc. That, for me, builds confidence. I know when I left today to come into the city, and I knew it was going to be a long day in the city because of the traffic, so thank you all for coming. I knew that I had a whole team of people who were going to be working with clients and be in the courtroom and preparing for our trials for next week, etc. And that, for me, built the confidence that I could come here and speak and know that I wasn't frenetic and that everything was going to be okay. But it took a long time, frankly, for me to understand that I needed that support staff and that they need me and I need them, and we have to work together. And my firm is mostly female, frankly, so I feel very proud that we have brought a lot of female attorneys over and made them partners, and that they too feel confident when they walk into a room with a client or into any room for that matter. Yeah. So it's very important to me that happened.
And also, I love that being prepared, and that does make you feel more secure and more confident if you know your stuff before you walk into a meeting, into a room, talking to your boss, talking on an interview. Being prepared, I think that's really critical. And Melissa, any last words around confidence?
I think it's kind of, for me, two things. There's the inner confidence, and then there's the outer confidence, and how I feel on the inside and the outside, both super important to my confidence level. I love fashion, but also what I wear, and that it has to be comfortable and functional and a reflection of me. I want to look and feel like the best version of myself, not of anyone else, just of me. But it's also the self-care. Sleep, not doing, I'm getting a D to F right now in the sleep category. Jet lag from a trip to Asia last week. Meditation, I learned how to meditate about 10 years ago. Super key in my life. Eating properly, physical activity, all that to feel well, because if you don't feel well, you're not going to have confidence. I think also the networking thing, I did not think about this when I was younger. I was just, doing my work, 14 hours a day, not asking a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about expanding my network. And your network in your career and in life is everything. Mm-hmm. And those supporting you and how you support others. I also think that confidence, you never arrive. I'm not like, okay, 3 stops from now, I've arrived at confidence. Here we are at the station. Right. One day I'm confident, 3 days later I'm like, imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Right. And I try to remind myself, it goes back to that getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, that to replace fear of what you don't know with curiosity.
Love that.
And that curiosity, to pursue curiosity, means that you need to be vulnerable. And I'm vulnerable in front of people I work with. You can ask them if I'm here today. And vulnerability is bravery, and it paves the way for change. And change opens the door to confidence. And so it's never, and that's personal in life, my own human development. That's also professionally too, that you never arrive, you feel confident now, and then it's just the pursuit of learning, right? Mm-hmm. That curiosity.
Yeah, there were so many things that you said that I feel could be on a T-shirt that you just said, because they were so true. You know what I mean? But I love that, thinking about making sure that you're treating yourself well. Mm-hmm. That's going to give you the confidence to to really get to that next level. And to your point, maybe you're always searching, you're always building, you're always learning. I love that. That's great. So now let's get to the style portion of the discussion, right? So how has your personal style evolved during your career? And I want to start with Fiona, right? So you work in a conservative industry.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
So how, you're like, yes. So how has your style evolved from, when you first started to now, right?
So, I'm not on the extreme of Lisa. I think we're like polar opposites. Like, I would never show up to work in that.
We look awesome.
You see? I mean,
She's comfortable,
right? No, this is me. So, I think my closet's like divided into like 3, I wouldn't call them seasons, but like 3 types of like events.
Okay.
Right? There's like the formal, like you're going to evening event, right? So like ball gowns. And then there's like the vacation party clothes.
Yeah.
And then there's the workwear, right? And for me, like, it's sort of almost like body armor. It's like my warrior gear, right? And so it's always, to me, it's always very conservative, but always with like a pop.
Yeah.
Right? So, because I just feel like I don't need any other distraction. Like, I need people just listening to me and what I have to say and not necessarily looking at, the jacket that I'm wearing or, the color that I'm wearing. And it could be because I know that people are looking at me maybe for other reasons, right? Because I'm usually the only woman in the room. Because I'm almost certainly usually the only black person in the room. And so to me, it's just like one less thing, to think about when I wake up in the morning. You just pick an array of like black suits, gray suits too, blue suits. and then the pop.
Melissa's like, we got to get a hold of her.
I'm like, where's Gordana? Full shades of black, gray, aubergine.
And so I'm very conservative in that way, and I've actually counseled other people to be conservative. But I also tell them, because it's our industry, but you have to get to the point where Lisa is, I think, to branch out. Just because you don't want to be a distraction, because there's so many other reasons I think that people use to hold something against you. I can tell you a story of a friend of mine who went from the government, where she was always very edgy. She dressed more like Lisa, actually. Very much like Lisa. No, a lot of leather, when the laser cut was in, she had a lot of laser cut, and I loved her wardrobe, right? But I always used to think, I would never wear that at the office. And she moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, to work in the finance industry. And one of the comments that she got on her review was that she did not fit in. And one of the things that they pointed out to her was the way that she dressed.
Wow.
And so because I work in a very conservative industry, I just view it as one less thing that someone can hold against you. You always need to be comfortable, and I know people want to express themselves, but my view from my personal background is just keep that at bay and at the door. Just keep it away.
That's great advice, great anecdotal stories. I know, like, sometimes we put on our uniforms, or there's an expectation of what you're supposed to dress like, right? And you do have to get comfortable with who you are, what you want to dress like enough, and that does sometimes take time. Melissa, what are your thoughts around that? Like, how's your style evolved from, not knowing all of the terminology at Neiman Marcus to being a global CEO of like an amazing brand?
Well, my interview suit was from TJ Maxx, navy, Jones of New York, skirt suit, gold buttons. And at Neiman's at the time, you had to wear 3 pieces. They had this rule. So, not like I'm going to wear a jacket without a shirt under it, but, jacket with an underpinning, a skirt, or pantyhose. Oof.
That's a problem.
And I just thought that's what business people wear, right? I wasn't even thinking about fashion. I was just like, I have to look, also because I knew nothing about the business I was getting into. I need to look as studious and smart as possible because I knew nothing. Today, apparently I'm very predictable, right? Gordana?
Yes. we almost everyone knows, like when we see the collection, it's like, this is Melissa, and this is Melissa, and then you see like when the collection arrives, Melissa is going to maybe 80-90% we know what she's going to pick from outfits. We kind of know.
Well, I like a monochromatic look.
Yes.
Even on the weekends too. Like my whole weekend closet is really like white and champagne, colored, lush. But again, it's something that makes me feel confident. I wear dresses. I like dresses, but I'm a pant girl. I like fashion pants, slick pant, as Albert would say, our creative director. It has to be comfortable and functional. Sometimes it starts with the shoes. What am I going to have to do that day? Where do I have to go? How many different places?
Right.
Then I start with the shoes and build the outfit from the look up. But I also want things that look like a reflection of my personality and timeless. I don't ever like to look like a billboard. Our creative director always says something that sticks with me and it really resonates. He says, when a woman walks into the room, you should look at her and say, wow, she looks so beautiful and elegant, sophisticated, modern, whatever. And only later do you say, and what is that she's wearing? Mm-hmm. But you notice her first. Mm-hmm. So it's a compliment to you. And then, which is why Akris doesn't use logos, or it's forever clothes. Because you are investing in yourself. So I believe in building a wardrobe for myself that's going to work together 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. All the pieces are going to feel as modern, maybe get to mix it up in a different way. And our teams do that too because the clothes are an investment. They should last forever. And that's the ultimate in modernity too, is like the least modern thing is stuff that you're tired of wearing in a season, or it feels like a costume, and not the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it goes back to feeling really good in what you're wearing and knowing that. And like, did you know right away, like, I like monochromatic pantsuits, or like how did you?
It just evolved over time. It evolved. It like everything else in life, you evolve into a place where you really feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. I think I did take risks with lots of things that were really not me, and guess what? I don't own any of those things anymore either.
Yep.
And now the things that are in my closet are things that I know I'll have forever.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Lisa, so you alluded to earlier, right? Like when you first became a lawyer, did you wear a leather dress to the courtroom?
Never.
You were me.
Never. And by the way, today I put on pantyhose. Okay? Tights. That's right, tights. Because I felt like, should I wear the sandals with this and go to the courthouse, or should I wear something with a closed toe and the tights? And that was my compromise. Exactly, it was. But the answer is no. I would never have done it. I would have worn a suit. It would have been either a pantsuit or a skirt suit, and it would have been very conservative, and I would never have gone out in a leather piece. Now, I just looked downstairs. The piece I just bought at Akris, it's very funky. It's me. I will wear that to the courthouse. There is no question. I will wear it. And it's full of color, etc., because I feel good in it. Mm-hmm. And when I feel good in something, I feel like I could do a good job for somebody. When I am in that courtroom and I am moving around that courtroom and I am on trial and I feel good, it makes all the difference. How I ask the questions, where I am in the room, it makes a big difference. And so for me, part of being a litigator, it's a show. I mean, it is a show, and you have to put on the whole show. And so that for me is very important. I also am going to say I wear a lot of leather. And someone asked me, actually, in the courthouse, you wear a lot of leather. What is it about that? And I'm thinking to myself, I feel like leather makes me feel more powerful. And so it gives me, it's my armor. That's exactly right. And I probably have 6 or 7 or even more leather jackets, frankly from Akris, okay? But I love my leather jackets because I feel that they bring me some sort of power.
Yep. I think that's such an important point. And I want to go back to something that Fiona had brought up, because I'm with you. I've changed a little bit, but I used to have my formal, my work wear, and my personal wear. Right? And it's ironic, right? Why personal wear is not part of your work wear, right? So then I started to incorporate some of my personal blouses with my work skirts, right? So started to kind of meld those two together. And so just kind of recognizing it, like, do you have those, business play outfits? And then how do you start to incorporate both into your everyday life? It's funny, my husband, I have like a couple of very favorite shirts that I wear probably too often, because he's like, oh, you got the favorite shirt on, and I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, you love that shirt. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I guess I do. And it's because I really I like the way I look in it, or I feel confident in it, or it looks good on me, right? So just that importance of fashion and style, how do you take that into your career? That's really like what we've been talking about. I think just really thinking about it that way, and I love that you recognize that you've got these different segments in your closet.
But it is something that evolves over time, right?
Yeah.
So I would never, the breakout for me is wearing the scarf with red, right? And not wearing pantyhose.
And those cool shoes.
Yes.
Well, thank you, but also not wearing pantyhose. When I was younger, right, and just starting out in my career, I certainly would have had the pantyhose on, and the scarf probably wouldn't have been this red, right? Add this red. And so, but as you prove yourself, you're confident, you're prepared, right? All those things that sort of lead you into a very successful career, however you define success, right? Then you start to break out and do things. And I know that this generation, they're just not having it.
Right.
They don't want to have this conversation.
That's true.
They want to be able to walk out the door and if I want to be comfortable in my own skin, and I'm comfortable in sweatpants and a t-shirt, you're going to work. It's like, I don't co-sign to that, and I would never. I would never advise anyone to do that.
Right. And that's, again, that's all about, kind of being authentic, being, your true self, bringing your true self to work. And I think a lot of employers need to, especially in the creative field, it's always been pretty accessible to wear what you want in the creative field. If you're in journalism or marketing or fashion, when you're a lawyer or an accountant or a financial advisor, there's a whole uniform there, right? So I think just you're right. The younger generation is going to be pushing some boundaries, which I think is pretty cool. So we don't have a whole lot of time left, and I have a couple of parting questions for our panelists. But is there anyone in the audience that'd like to ask something?
I have a question. So you hear a lot now about bring your whole self to work, right? And a lot of companies are saying that. Do you think that's a bit inauthentic? Because you have young people that don't necessarily like you said, there is a lot of uniform in a lot of industries, and a bit of depending on the type of background you came from, you might know what shoes to wear, what not to. So what are your thoughts on that? Corporations kind of saying, bring your whole self to work. if they're saying that. I don't know. I've heard of a few.
No, they are saying it a lot, and I do
Suzanne,
think.
do you mind repeating the question just for Zoom?
Sure. So the question was, now that corporations are saying bring your whole self to work, what does that mean from a wardrobe standpoint?
Yeah.
So I was saying that I do think it's a little inauthentic, because part of what we do as professionals and in the service industry is we have to make our customers, clients feel comfortable, right? And so there are different industries where you dress differently. Like if you're going to Silicon Valley, don't show up in a suit. They're gonna know you're a lawyer. Happens every time. And to your point, and to the point that I made earlier, they're different, people come from different backgrounds.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what's comfortable for one person may make another person feel uncomfortable. Now, I know we're not necessarily supposed to think about that these days, but when you're trying to develop a team and have coworkers and coworkers that become friends and mentors and people that you hopefully are sharing experiences with because you travel together, etc. Everyone needs and wants to feel comfortable, right? And so I think there's some give and take there, and I don't really think that corporations I think that it's a platitude.
Yeah, agreed. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to give us one key takeaway from tonight's conversation that you'd like to leave our audience with. So Lisa, I'm going to start with you.
So I think that for me, the takeaway is to be authentic, but respectful. And so be your true self, but as Fiona just said, I don't know that you arrive in sweats at this point in your office. I think that you need to understand who your audience is, and you need to be respectful of the fact that you're at work and you need to look a certain part to do that. And I think that's very important. I think that commands respect back to you, and it gives you, it allows other people to respect what you're saying and what you're doing. And I think how you look and what you say really matters. And I think it not only inspires confidence in yourself, but it'll inspire confidence from others to you.
Love it. Melissa?
I think similarly, but I go back to this idea of just evolution and just to try to remind yourself that we're all constantly evolving. So I'm not going to have all the answers today. But I'm working towards it. Right? I'm constantly in pursuit of my own professional, personal evolution and change. And that's also what I'm wearing. I mean, maybe I'm going to be mismatched colors next year, and that's going to make me feel like the best version of myself. It doesn't matter. I think there are some professional norms in whatever industry you are, but it's also whether you're customer facing or not, or you should be able to personally style yourself within a general framework. But the most important thing is that it makes you, when you get up in the morning, feel like the very best version of you.
I love that. Yeah. Fiona?
So Melissa stole my thunder. I was going to say evolve. Like, I hope that everyone heard from us today that, you evolve in the way you think, the way that you dress, what makes you happy, what doesn't make you happy, how you define success. Like, that's important. And part of evolving is constantly learning. And so don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't be afraid to meet new people. Don't be afraid to go to new events. I'm going to digress, but I'm taking physical therapy, and my therapist, her daughter is starting whatever college she's going to next year, and I said to her, tell her to take whatever classes she's interested in. Go through the booklet, and I don't care what it is. Like, if you have an interest, take it, because college is like the doorway to like constantly evolving and learning, and will feed you. So yeah, my message is to evolve and keep learning.
Yeah, some great takeaways. I want to conclude with asking Melissa, I'm going to put her on the spot. but Paris Fashion Week is next week, and Akris is celebrating their 100th year anniversary. And I know you're having a party, so can I come? No, I'm kidding. That's not what I'm asking. Not what I'm asking. Everybody's invited. That's a surprise. The question is, what, like, as in Fashion Insider, what's like the new color? What's like the new thing that you can give us a tip about that maybe isn't in like Vogue yet?
You know, something that I think is interesting, there can be commonalities across many collections, right? Where fashion evolves to now oversized mom jeans, and you know, that was not something we were dreaming of 3 years ago. But also collections can do their own thing as well, which I think is great. So I'll just give you a little bit of an insider's view as to what we will be showing next week on October 1st. Please watch the live stream. It's 6:30 Paris time, so 12:30 p.m. Saturday afternoon. Tune in. I'm really excited because Albert Kremler, our creative director, he started designing the collection like 19 years old.
Wow.
He planned to go to design school, and his father was running the house then, and his dad said, hey, I need some help in the atelier. We need some extra sets of hands. Help me for a year, and then you can go to design school. Well, he never went to design school. So in the early 80s is when he really took over. And talk about taking some risk. When he was thinking about the 100th and how he wanted to celebrate this, he went back to his first days. And he said, Akris is about, right, just clothes that are as modern one day as they can be in 30 years. And that's a value, and the quality of the clothes, but also the design that is part of our foundation. So he went back to his early collections, and he chose things that he thought were as modern today as they were then. So you will see beautiful red. There's a jacket. I think there's this jacket
with my name on it.
with a matching skirt that you would rock.
Okay. There you go. All right.
Bright cobalt blue, emerald green, lots of embroidery, which we always have, but strong shoulders for strong women. It's a return to their early 80s, but also a lot of femininity, softness, embroidery and lace and ruffles and whatnot. Deeper V-necks, being a little bit more sensual, and really celebrating women. That's what you can expect to see.
Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to see. We'll tune in. And with that, we're going to conclude our Style and Substance webinar panel discussion. I want to thank all of our panelists. You rocked it, and you look great doing it. I want to thank Akris for hosting this amazing reception here if you're in person in New York, as well as hosting the live stream. And of course, Savvy Ladies. This is just such an amazing charity and education program that Stacey France has founded based on her own experience, and actually it caused her to become a financial advisor. Her story, if you don't know it, is online. It's amazing. She's an amazing individual, and what you're doing here today is really supporting women that want to be financially independent, and that's just a really pretty powerful cause.
So they can buy a lot of beautiful clothes.
So they can buy a lot of beautiful clothes. So with that, thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Judy.
I think it's really thank you to all the panelists. This was fantastic. Great takeaways. For me, words resonate, and curiosity, power, strength, flexibility, really were terrific. And I'm sure everyone here tonight has words that resonate in their head from tonight's discussion. So Please share them. Come back to Savvy Ladies for more and more events. Look for us for our November 16th gala. We hope you will all join us either in person or streaming. I think this was a really nice, great success. So again, thank you so much to all of our panelists. And thank you to everyone on Zoom who stayed with us this evening and shared some great thoughts and signature looks and lots of good chatter out there. So thanks so much. We did record this, so it will be shared. Thanks so much for coming this evening.
Thank you.